Madison Walker stepped out of her white BMW, her designer heels clicking on the clean sidewalk. She was 16 years old and knew she looked perfect. Her blonde hair was styled just right and her expensive clothes fit her slim body perfectly. Behind her, 3 other girls from Riverside Academy got out of their own fancy cars. They all looked the same, rich, pretty, and mean. "I need my coffee before we go shopping," Madison said, checking her phone. She had over 10,000 followers on social media, and she loved every single like and comment. Her father gave her unlimited money and her mother bought her everything she wanted. Life was easy when you were Madison Walker. The 4 girls walked toward the coffee shop on Main Street. This was the expensive part of town where all the rich families lived. Madison's house was the biggest one on the street, with a pool, tennis court, and 5 bedrooms for just 3 people. She never thought about people who had less than her. Why would she? As they got closer to the coffee shop, Madison saw something that made her stop walking. Behind the building, near the big green dumpster, a boy was digging through the trash. He looked about her age, maybe 16 or 17. His clothes were old and dirty. His shoes had holes in them. His brown hair was messy and too long. "Oh my God," Madison said, pointing at the boy. "Look at that." Her friends stopped walking too. Emma, her best friend since elementary school, made a face like she smelled something bad. "Gross," Emma said. "What is he doing?" "He's looking for food," said Sophia, another friend. "My mom told me about these people. They live on the streets and eat garbage." The 4th girl, Ashley, pulled out her phone. "We should totally film this," she said with a mean smile. Madison's eyes lit up. She loved making videos for social media. The meaner and funnier they were, the more likes she got. This was perfect. A dirty homeless boy digging through trash right in their nice neighborhood. Her followers would love this. "Yes," Madison said, taking out her own phone. "This is going to be so funny." She opened her camera app and started recording. The boy was still looking through the dumpster, trying to find something to eat. He moved carefully and quietly, like he did not want anyone to see him. But Madison saw him, and now thousands of people would see him too. "Look at this," Madison said loudly, making sure her voice was clear in the video. "Some homeless kid is eating our garbage. This is so gross." She laughed as she talked, and her friends laughed too. The boy heard them. He looked up from the dumpster, and Madison saw his face for the first time. He had dark eyes that looked sad but also strong. His face was thin, like he had not eaten enough food for a long time. When he saw the 4 girls filming him, something changed in his eyes. It was not anger. It was something else. Something that made Madison feel weird for just a second, but she did not stop filming. "Hey, street boy," Madison called out, making her voice even louder. "Are you finding good food in there? Maybe some nice old pizza?" Her friends laughed harder. Emma was recording too now, getting different angles. "This is perfect," Emma whispered. The boy did not say anything. He just looked at them for a moment longer. Madison could see that her words hurt him, but she did not care. Actually, it made her feel powerful. She had everything and he had nothing. That was just how the world worked. "You should probably take a shower," Madison continued, zooming in with her camera. "You smell bad from here." This was not true. She was too far away to smell anything, but it sounded funny in the video. The boy slowly closed the dumpster lid. He picked up a small backpack that was on the ground next to him. It was old and had holes in it too. He put the backpack on his shoulders and started to walk away. "Where are you going?" Madison shouted after him. "We're not done talking to you." But the boy kept walking. He did not look back at them. He did not run. He walked with his head up like he was not ashamed. This made Madison angry. Poor people were supposed to feel bad about being poor. They were supposed to say sorry for bothering rich people like her. "What a loser," she said to her phone camera. "He probably does not even go to school. I bet he cannot even read." Her friends laughed again, but quieter this time. Madison stopped recording and looked at the video. It was perfect. The boy looked really poor and dirty, and she looked rich and pretty. Her followers would love making fun of him. She could already see all the likes and comments she would get. "I'm posting this right now," she said, opening her social media app. "What are you going to write?" Ashley asked. Madison thought for a moment. She wanted something really mean and funny. "How about, just saw this homeless kid eating trash in our nice neighborhood. Someone should clean up these streets." She added some laughing faces and posted the video. Within seconds, likes started coming in. Her friends were the first to like and comment. Then other kids from their school started seeing it. Madison felt that familiar happy feeling she got when her posts went viral. "Let's get our coffee," she said, feeling proud of herself. "I need to check how many views this gets." The four girls walked into the coffee shop, already forgetting about the boy. For Madison, he was just content for her social media. She did not think about where he slept at night or where his family was or why he was looking for food in the trash. She did not think about how her video might make him feel or how it might hurt him. To Madison, poor people were not real people with real feelings. They were just things to laugh at and feel better about herself. She had always been taught that she was better than other people because her family had more money. Her parents never told her to be kind to people who had less. They told her to stay away from them. As Madison ordered her expensive coffee, she kept checking her phone. The video was getting more and more views. People were sharing it and making their own mean comments about the boy. Madison felt happy and powerful. She had no idea that this video would change her life forever. She had no idea who the boy really was or what his story was. She just knew that being mean to him made her feel good, and that was all that mattered to her right now. The boy was already far away, walking down the street with his old backpack. But Madison's video would follow him everywhere, showing thousands of people the worst moment of his day, and Madison Walker felt proud of that. The next morning, Madison woke up in her huge bedroom and reached for her phone right away. She always checked her social media first thing every day. When she opened the app, she could not believe what she saw. Her video had over 50,000 views and hundreds of comments. Madison sat up in her expensive bed and started reading the comments. Most of them were exactly what she wanted to see. Her classmates from Riverside Academy were writing things like, "So funny," and "Madison, you're so savage," and "That kid is so gross." She scrolled through more comments, feeling more and more proud of herself. Someone wrote, "Rich girl puts poor kid in his place." Another person said, "Someone needs to clean these homeless people off our streets." Madison liked all these comments and replied with laughing faces. Her phone buzzed with a text from Emma. "Girl, you're famous. Everyone at school is talking about your video." Madison smiled and got out of bed. She walked to her huge closet and picked out another expensive outfit. Today she wanted to look extra good because she knew everyone would be looking at her. Being mean to that homeless boy was the best thing she had done for her social media in months. At breakfast, Madison's mother was reading her tablet and drinking coffee. Her father was already gone to work at his law firm. Madison's mother looked up when Madison came into the kitchen. "I saw your video, sweetheart," her mother said. "Very funny. You have such a good sense of humor." Madison felt even better. Her mother was proud of her too. "Thanks, Mom. It's getting thousands of views." "Good for you," her mother said, going back to her tablet. "Just remember to stay away from those types of people. They can be dangerous." Madison nodded and ate her breakfast. Her family had always taught her that poor people were different from them. They were lazy, dirty, and probably criminals. That was why they did not have money. Rich people like Madison's family were better because they worked hard and made good choices. At school, Madison felt like a celebrity. As soon as she walked into Riverside Academy, students started coming up to her. They all wanted to talk about her video and tell her how funny it was. "Madison, that video is so good," said a boy from her English class. "That homeless kid looks so stupid." "I know, right?" Madison said, flipping her blonde hair. I could not believe he was just eating garbage like an animal. During lunch, Madison sat with her usual group of friends. Everyone was still talking about the video. Madison kept checking her phone and watching the view count go higher and higher. "You should make more videos like this," Sophia said. "Maybe we can find more homeless people to film." "That's a great idea," Madison said. "There are probably lots of them around town." Ashley was looking at her phone too. "Look, someone shared your video on their page and it has even more views now." Madison looked at Ashley's phone. A popular girl from another school had shared her video with the caption, "This is why I love rich girls. They tell the truth about these street people." "This is amazing," Madison said. She felt so powerful and important. Making fun of that poor boy was the best decision she had ever made. But across town, things were very different for Alex. He was sitting in the public library, trying to focus on his homework. The library was the only place he could go during the day where no one bothered him. It was warm, quiet, and had free internet. Alex tried not to think about what happened yesterday. He tried not to think about the rich girl with the blonde hair who filmed him looking for food. He tried not to think about how she laughed at him like he was not even human, but it was hard to forget. Alex had been through many difficult things in his life, but being laughed at and filmed like that hurt in a different way. It made him feel like he was nothing, like he did not matter. Mrs. Chen, the librarian, noticed that Alex looked sadder than usual. She had seen him come to the library every day for months. He was always polite, always quiet, and always studying. She did not know his story, but she could tell he was a good kid going through hard times. "Alex," Mrs. Chen said quietly, walking over to his table, "are you okay today? You seem upset." Alex looked up from his books. He had been reading about history and science, trying to keep up with his studies even though he did not go to school regularly anymore. "I'm fine, Mrs. Chen, thank you for asking." Mrs. Chen could tell he was not fine, but she did not want to push him. "If you ever need to talk, I'm here," she said kindly. Alex nodded and went back to his books. He was grateful for Mrs. Chen's kindness. There were not many people who were nice to him anymore. Back at Riverside Academy, Madison was having the best day ever. Her video was still getting shared and liked. During her last class of the day, she even got a message from a popular social media influencer who wanted to collaborate with her. After school, Madison and her friends went shopping at the expensive mall. As they walked from store to store, Madison kept showing her video to salespeople and other shoppers. Everyone thought it was so funny. "You're like famous now," Emma said as they tried on expensive clothes. "That video is everywhere." "I know," Madison said, taking a selfie in a designer dress. "I'm thinking about making it into a series, like Rich Girl versus Poor People or something." Her friends thought this was a great idea. They spent the rest of the afternoon planning more mean videos they could make. They talked about finding more homeless people to film, or maybe going to the poor part of town to make fun of people there. Madison felt so good about herself. She was popular, she was pretty, she was rich, and now she was internet famous too. Life could not get any better. That night, Madison posted another video talking about her viral moment. She thanked all her followers for the likes and shares. She promised them more funny content soon. She even made jokes about the homeless boy again, calling him Dumpster Boy and laughing about how pathetic he looked. The comments on this new video were just as mean as the first ones. People were calling Alex terrible names and saying awful things about homeless people in general. Madison loved every single comment. The meaner they were, the more powerful she felt. What Madison did not know was that her video was hurting more than just Alex. There were other homeless people and poor families who saw her video and felt ashamed and scared. Her video was making people think it was okay to be cruel to anyone who did not have money. Madison also did not know that Alex was not just any homeless boy. She did not know his real story or where he came from, or why he was living on the streets. She just saw a poor person and decided he was worth nothing. As Madison fell asleep in her comfortable bed in her big house, with her closet full of expensive clothes, she felt proud of what she had done. She thought she had put a homeless boy in his place and entertained thousands of people. She had no idea that the boy she humiliated was smarter than her, braver than her, and had been through more pain than she could ever imagine. She had no idea that her cruel video would soon come back to change her life in ways she never expected. For now, Madison Walker was just a mean, rich girl who thought being cruel made her powerful. But that was about to change. 2 weeks later, Madison was sitting in her advanced English class at Riverside Academy when her teacher, Mrs. Patterson, made an announcement that would change everything. "Students, I have exciting news," Mrs. Patterson said, standing at the front of the expensive classroom. "Our school has been invited to participate in the Regional Academic Championship. This is a very important competition between the top schools in our area." Madison looked up from her phone where she had been checking her social media. Her video about the homeless boy was still getting views and comments every day. She loved reading all the mean things people wrote about him. "The competition will test knowledge in 4 areas," Mrs. Patterson continued: literature, science, history, and mathematics. "The winning student will receive a full scholarship to any university they choose." Madison's eyes got wide. A full scholarship sounded impressive, even though she did not really need it. Her parents had enough money to send her to any college she wanted. But winning would look great on her applications, and it would give her something else to brag about on social media. Madison raised her hand. "Mrs. Patterson, can anyone sign up for this competition?" "Well, Madison, we can only send our best students. You would need to have excellent grades in all subjects. Mrs. Patterson looked at Madison with doubt. Madison was pretty and popular, but she was not known for being smart. She usually got average grades and did not try very hard in school. But Madison was not worried. She had always been able to get what she wanted. Her parents donated lots of money to the school, and teachers usually gave her good grades even when she did not earn them. "I want to compete," Madison said confidently. "I'm sure I can win this thing." Some of her classmates looked surprised. Everyone knew Madison cared more about her appearance and social media than studying. But no one said anything because Madison was too popular and mean to argue with. After class, Madison went straight to the principal's office. Mr. Williams, the principal, was always nice to Madison because her father was on the school board and donated money every year. "Madison," Mr. Williams said with a big smile, "what can I do for you today?" "I want to enter the academic competition," Madison said, sitting down in the expensive chair across from his desk. "Mrs. Patterson said I need excellent grades, but I think I'm ready for this challenge." Mr. Williams looked at Madison's file on his computer. Her grades were not excellent at all. They were barely above average, but he knew how important Madison's family was to the school. "Well," Mr. Williams said slowly, "your father has been such a generous supporter of our school, and you have shown improvement this year." This was not true, but Mr. Williams wanted to keep Madison's family happy. "So I can compete?" Madison asked, already knowing the answer. "I think we can make an exception," Mr. Williams said. "The competition is in 3 weeks. You'll need to study very hard." Madison nodded, but she was not worried about studying. She had always been able to figure things out at the last minute. How hard could this competition be? That afternoon, Madison told her parents about the competition. They were having dinner in their huge dining room served by their housekeeper. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," her mother said. "Winning this competition would look so good for college applications." Her father, a successful lawyer, was even more excited. "Madison, if you win this competition, I'll buy you that new car you wanted." The red convertible. Madison's eyes lit up. She had been wanting that car for months. Now she had even more reason to win. For the next 3 weeks, Madison tried to study, but it was hard for her to focus. She was used to having everything given to her easily. She had never really worked hard for anything in her life. Instead of studying, she spent most of her time making more social media posts and shopping with her friends. Madison's friends thought the whole competition was silly. "Why are you doing this?" Emma asked while they were getting their nails done at an expensive salon. "You already have everything you need." "Because I want that car," Madison said. "And besides, it will be easy. I'm competing against public school kids. They probably barely know how to read," her friends laughed. They all went to Riverside Academy, the most expensive private school in the city. They had been taught that they were better than students at public schools because their families had more money. The day of the competition finally arrived. Madison woke up late and spent an hour getting ready. She wanted to look perfect, because she knew there would be cameras and reporters at the event. She wore her most expensive outfit and had her hair and makeup done professionally. Madison arrived at the competition venue with her parents. It was being held at the city's university, in a big auditorium. There were students from 12 different schools, both private and public. Madison looked around at the other competitors and felt confident. Most of them looked nervous and ordinary. She was sure she would stand out and win easily. But then she saw someone who made her stop walking. Sitting at a table near the front was the homeless boy from her viral video. But he looked completely different. Alex was wearing clean clothes that looked borrowed but neat. His hair was washed and combed. He looked calm and focused, reading a book while waiting for the competition to start. Madison could hardly believe it was the same person she had filmed digging through the dumpster. "What is he doing here?" Madison whispered to her mother. Her mother looked where Madison was pointing. "Who, dear?" "That boy. The homeless one from my video." Her mother squinted at Alex. "Are you sure that's the same person? He looks like a regular student to me." Madison was sure. She had watched her video so many times that she knew Alex's face perfectly. But seeing him here, cleaned up and sitting with the other smart students, made her feel confused and a little worried. There must be some mistake, Madison said to herself. Homeless people don't compete in academic competitions. She walked over to the registration table to find out what school Alex was representing. The volunteer at the table was happy to help. "That young man is Alex Harrison from Washington High School," the volunteer said. "He's one of their top students. Very impressive academic record." Madison felt her stomach drop. Washington High School was the public school in the poor part of town. But how could a homeless boy be a top student? And how did he get clean clothes and permission to compete? Madison did not know that Alex had been living in different places for the past 2 weeks. Sometimes he stayed at a shelter, sometimes with a kind family who had heard about his situation. Mrs. Chen, from the library, had helped him get the clean clothes and had even driven him to the competition. Madison also did not know that Alex had been studying every day at the library, preparing for this competition like it was the most important thing in his life. While Madison had been shopping and making social media posts, Alex had been reading every book he could find about literature, science, history, and mathematics. The competition was about to start. Madison took her seat, still staring at Alex in shock. She had always been told that poor people were stupid and lazy. But Alex did not look stupid. He looked calm, confident, and ready. For the first time since signing up for this competition, Madison felt nervous. She looked down at her expensive outfit and perfect makeup, and wondered if looking good would be enough to win. The moderator stepped up to the microphone. "Welcome, students, to the Regional Academic Championship. We have 12 of the brightest young minds in our area competing today." Madison tried to focus on the moderator's words, but she kept looking at Alex. How was this possible? How could the homeless boy she had humiliated be sitting here, about to compete against her in an academic competition? "The competition will consist of 4 rounds, the moderator continued. Literature, science, history, and mathematics. Students will be eliminated after each round until we have our final winner." Madison felt her confidence slipping away. She had barely studied, and now she was competing against students who looked like they had been preparing for months, including the homeless boy who was supposed to be stupid. "Let the competition begin," the moderator announced. Madison gripped her expensive pen and tried to remember everything she was supposed to know. But as she looked around at the other competitors, especially at Alex, who was calmly waiting for the first question, she realized she might have made a terrible mistake. This was not going to be as easy as she thought. The first round was literature. Madison sat at her table trying to look confident while her heart beat fast in her chest. She had read the books that were required for her English class, but she had never really paid attention to them. She usually just read summaries online or copied from her friends. The moderator asked the first question. "In Shakespeare's Hamlet, what is the significance of the ghost's appearance to the overall theme of the play?" Madison's mind went blank. She knew Hamlet was a play by Shakespeare, but she could not remember anything about a ghost or themes. She looked around at the other students, hoping to get some ideas from their faces, but then she heard Alex's voice, clear and confident. "The ghost represents the weight of the past and unresolved justice. His appearance sets up the central conflict between duty and doubt that drives Hamlet's character development throughout the play." The judges nodded approvingly. Madison stared at Alex in shock. His answer sounded so smart and complete. How did a homeless boy know so much about Shakespeare? The questions continued, and Madison struggled with each one. She gave short, simple answers that she hoped were close to right. But Alex answered every question perfectly, giving detailed explanations that impressed the judges and other students. When it was time for the science round, Madison felt a little more hopeful. She had taken chemistry and biology at Riverside Academy, and her teachers had given her good grades. Surely she could do better in this round. The first science question was about genetics. Explain how dominant and recessive traits are passed from parents to children, and give an example. Madison knew this had something to do with genes, but she could not remember the details. She gave a confused answer about eye color that did not make much sense. Alex answered the same question like he was a science teacher. He explained dominant and recessive alleles, used proper scientific terms, and gave clear examples with brown and blue eyes. His answer was so good that even the judges looked impressed. As the science round continued, Madison realized she was in serious trouble. Alex was not just answering questions correctly. He was giving answers that showed deep understanding of complex ideas. He talked about molecular biology, physics, and chemistry like he had been studying them for years. Madison barely passed the first 2 rounds. Half of the students were eliminated, but she managed to stay in the competition with low scores. Alex, meanwhile, had perfect scores in both literature and science. During the break between rounds, Madison's parents came over to talk to her. "Sweetheart, are you feeling okay?" her mother asked. "You seem nervous." "I'm fine," Madison lied. "The questions are just harder than I expected." Her father looked concerned. "Remember, honey, if you win this competition, you get that new car we talked about." Madison nodded, but the car seemed less important now. She was more worried about being embarrassed in front of all these people. How could she lose to a homeless boy? The third round was history. This was Madison's worst subject. She had never been interested in old events and dates. She usually just memorized what she needed for tests and then forgot everything. The first history question was about World War II. Describe the main factors that led to the United States entering the war. Madison knew the U.S. fought in World War II, but she could not remember why they joined or when. She gave a vague answer about helping other countries. Alex's answer was like listening to a history documentary. He talked about Pearl Harbor, the attack by Japan, the existing tensions in Europe, and how these events changed American foreign policy. He even mentioned specific dates and political leaders. Madison felt sick to her stomach. Not only was Alex answering perfectly, but he was making her look stupid in front of everyone. She could see other students and parents looking at him with admiration and looking at her with confusion. The history questions got harder, covering ancient civilizations, important wars, and political movements. Alex answered every single question correctly, giving detailed explanations that showed he understood not just facts, but how historical events connected to each other. Madison barely survived the history round. She was one of only 4 students left in the competition, and she had the lowest score by far. Alex had another perfect score. The final round was mathematics. Madison had always struggled with math, even with expensive tutors and extra help at school. She was hoping for easy questions about basic algebra, but the math questions were much harder than anything she had seen in school. They covered advanced topics like calculus, statistics, and complex geometry. Madison looked at the first problem and did not even know where to start. Alex solved the first math problem in his head and wrote down the answer with a clear explanation of his work. Madison watched him in amazement. He was working through complex equations like they were simple arithmetic. As the math round continued, Madison realized she had no chance of winning. She could barely understand the questions, let alone answer them correctly. Alex, meanwhile, was solving every problem perfectly, showing his work clearly and double-checking his answers. The other 2 remaining students were also struggling, but not as much as Madison. They got some answers right and some wrong. Alex got every single answer right. When the final math problem was announced, Madison did not even try to solve it. She just sat there feeling embarrassed and confused. How was this possible? How could a boy who lived on the streets be smarter than students from the best private schools? Alex finished the last problem and put down his pencil. He looked calm and confident, like this had been easy for him. Madison looked at her own paper, covered with wrong answers and incomplete work. The judges took a few minutes to add up the final scores. Madison already knew what they would announce, but hearing it out loud still hurt. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have our winner," the moderator said. "With perfect scores in all 4 rounds, the regional academic champion is Alex Harrison from Washington High School." The auditorium erupted in applause. Alex stood up and smiled modestly as people clapped for him. Madison sat in her chair, feeling smaller than she had ever felt in her life. The boy she had mocked and humiliated had just beaten her and every other student in this competition. He had shown knowledge and intelligence that made her expensive education look worthless. He had answered questions that she could not even understand. Madison's parents came over to her, looking disappointed and confused. "How did that boy win?" her mother whispered. "He's from a public school, and he looks so poor," her father added quietly. Madison did not know how to answer them. She had always been taught that rich people were smarter than poor people, that private schools were better than public schools, that having money meant you were better than people who did not have money. But Alex had just proved all of that wrong. He had beaten every rich kid in this competition, including her, and he had done it while living on the streets, without expensive tutors or fancy schools. As Madison watched Alex receive his award and scholarship, she felt something she had never felt before. Not just embarrassment or disappointment, but confusion about everything she had believed about the world. The reporters were interviewing Alex now, asking him about his victory. Madison could hear him talking about studying at the library and thanking Mrs. Chen for her help. He sounded intelligent and grateful, nothing like the worthless person she had portrayed in her viral video. Madison left the competition feeling shocked and defeated. The boy she had laughed at and called stupid had just shown her how ignorant she really was. He had beaten her completely in front of hundreds of people, using nothing but his intelligence and hard work. For the first time in her life, Madison Walker realized that being rich did not make her better than other people, and that realization scared her more than losing any competition ever could. Madison sat in the back seat of her father's expensive car, staring out the window as they drove home from the competition. Her parents were talking in the front seats, but their voices sounded far away. All she could think about was Alex's face when he won the scholarship, and how smart his answers had been. "I just don't understand how that boy could have beaten our Madison," her mother was saying. "Riverside Academy is supposed to have the best education money can buy." "Maybe the competition was rigged somehow," her father replied angrily. "I'm going to look into this. Our family donates thousands of dollars to these academic programs." Madison wanted to tell them that the competition was not rigged. Alex had won because he was smarter than everyone else, including her. But she could not find the words to say it. Admitting that would mean admitting that everything her family had taught her about rich people being better was wrong. That night, Madison could not sleep. She kept thinking about Alex's answers during the competition. His knowledge of Shakespeare, science, history, and mathematics had been incredible. She had never heard a student their age speak so intelligently about anything. Madison got out of bed and opened her laptop. She wanted to understand what had happened today. She searched for information about Washington High School, the public school Alex attended. What she found confused her even more. Washington High School was in the poorest part of the city. The building was old, and they did not have much money for new books or equipment. Most of the students there came from families that struggled to pay for basic things like food and housing. How could a student from such a poor school be so much smarter than students from Riverside Academy? Madison's school had every advantage: small classes, expensive technology, the best teachers money could hire. It did not make sense. Madison kept searching online, trying to find some explanation. Maybe Alex was lying about being homeless. Maybe he was really from a rich family and was pretending to be poor for some reason. But then Madison found something that made her stop breathing for a moment. In her search results, she saw a news article from 2 years ago with a photo that looked familiar. The headline read, "Local doctor loses medical license in malpractice case." Madison clicked on the article and saw a photo of a man who looked like an older version of Alex. The man in the photo was well-dressed and standing in front of a nice hospital. The article was about Dr. James Harrison, a successful surgeon who had been accused of making a mistake during an operation. Madison read the article carefully. Dr. James Harrison had been a respected doctor for over 20 years. He had worked at the city's best hospital and had saved hundreds of lives. But then a patient had died during surgery, and the family blamed Dr. Harrison for the death. The article said that Dr. Harrison claimed he was not responsible for what happened. He said the patient had been too sick to save, and that he had done everything possible. But the patient's family had sued him for millions of dollars, and the medical board had taken away his license while they investigated. Madison felt her heart racing as she read more. The doctor's name was James Harrison. Alex's last name was Harrison, too. Could this be Alex's father? Madison searched for more articles about Dr. James Harrison. She found several stories about the lawsuit and investigation. The article said that Dr. Harrison had lost his job and could not work as a doctor while the case was going on. His family was struggling financially because of the legal costs. Then Madison found another article that made her feel sick. It was about a car accident that had happened during the time Dr. Harrison was fighting the lawsuit. A woman named Maria Harrison had been killed when another driver ran a red light and hit her car. The article said that Maria Harrison was survived by her husband, Dr. James Harrison, and their 16-year-old son, Alex Harrison. Madison stared at her computer screen in shock. The homeless boy she had mocked and humiliated was the son of a doctor. His mother had died in a car accident. His father had lost his career and all their money fighting a lawsuit. Madison kept reading, finding more pieces of Alex's story. After Maria Harrison died, Dr. James Harrison had fallen into a deep depression. The combination of losing his wife, his career, and all their money had been too much for him to handle. The article said that Dr. Harrison had eventually been cleared of any wrongdoing in the malpractice case. The investigation showed that he had done nothing wrong and that the patient's death was unavoidable. But by then it was too late. He had already lost everything: his job, his money, his reputation, and his wife. Madison found one more article from just 6 months ago. It said that Dr. James Harrison had finally started working again, but as a nurse at a small clinic, not as a surgeon. He was slowly trying to rebuild his life and take care of his son. Madison closed her laptop and sat in her dark bedroom, trying to understand what she had learned. Alex was not just some random homeless boy who was too lazy to work or go to school. He was the son of a successful doctor who had lost everything through terrible circumstances. Alex had been living on the streets not because he was worthless or stupid, but because his family had been destroyed by tragedy. His mother was dead. His father was struggling with depression and poverty, and Alex was trying to survive while still getting an education and preparing for his future. Madison thought about her viral video and felt ashamed for the first time. She had filmed Alex looking for food in a dumpster and had laughed at him like he was an animal. She had called him names and encouraged thousands of people to mock him. But Alex had not been looking for food because he was lazy or worthless. He had been looking for food because he was hungry and had no money. He had been trying to survive while dealing with more pain and loss than Madison had ever experienced. Madison remembered Alex's face in her video. She had thought his expression showed weakness, but now she realized it had shown strength. Despite everything he had been through, Alex had not fought back or said mean things to her. He had just walked away with dignity. And today at the academic competition, Alex had shown everyone how intelligent and capable he was. He had studied harder than any of the rich students, including Madison. He had earned his victory through pure talent and determination. Madison felt tears in her eyes as she thought about what she had done. She had attacked someone who was already suffering, someone who had been through more pain than she could imagine. She had made fun of him for being poor when his poverty was the result of terrible tragedies, not personal failures. For the first time in her life, Madison understood that she had been cruel to someone who deserved kindness. She had used her privilege to hurt someone who was already hurting, and she had done it for entertainment, to get likes and views on social media. Madison picked up her phone and looked at her viral video one more time. The comments were still full of mean jokes about Alex. People were still sharing it and laughing at his pain. And it was all because of her. Madison realized that she owed Alex an apology. But she also realized that saying sorry would not be enough. She had damaged his reputation and dignity in front of thousands of people. She had made his hard life even harder. As Madison finally fell asleep that night, she knew that learning Alex's true story had changed something inside her. She could never again look at poor people or homeless people the same way. She could never again assume that someone's circumstances meant they were worthless or stupid. Alex Harrison had taught her the most important lesson of her life, and he had done it without saying a single word to her. He had shown her that intelligence, dignity, and strength had nothing to do with money or social status. Now Madison had to figure out what to do with this knowledge. And she had to decide whether she was brave enough to admit she had been wrong. The next few days were torture for Madison. She could not stop thinking about what she had learned about Alex and his family. Every time she looked at her phone and saw her viral video, she felt sick to her stomach. The mean comments that had once made her laugh now made her feel terrible. Madison started researching more about the Harrison family. She found old newspaper articles from when Dr. James Harrison was still a successful surgeon. There were photos of him receiving awards for saving children's lives. There were stories about the free surgeries he did for poor families who could not afford medical care. In one article, Madison found a photo that broke her heart. It showed Dr. Harrison, his wife Maria, and young Alex at a charity event for homeless families. They were serving food to people who had nowhere to live. Alex looked about 12 years old in the photo, smiling as he helped his parents give meals to hungry people. Madison stared at the photo for a long time. The family she was looking at had been wealthy and successful, but they had used their good fortune to help others. They had fed homeless people, the same kind of people Madison had been taught to look down on, and now Alex was one of those homeless people himself. Madison found more articles about the malpractice case that had destroyed Dr. Harrison's life. She learned that the patient who died had been a young mother with 3 children. Dr. Harrison had worked for 8 hours trying to save her life, but she had been too badly injured in a car accident. The woman's family was devastated and angry. They wanted someone to blame for their loss. Even though other doctors said Dr. Harrison had done everything possible, the family sued him anyway. They said he was responsible for the woman's death. The lawsuit took 2 years to resolve. During that time, Dr. Harrison could not work as a surgeon. His reputation was destroyed. Other doctors were afraid to hire him because of the accusations. The family's legal bills grew higher and higher as they fought to clear his name. Madison found an interview that Dr. Harrison had given to a newspaper during the lawsuit. In it, he talked about how hard it was to be accused of something he did not do. He said the worst part was not being able to save lives anymore, which was all he had ever wanted to do. Being a doctor was not just my job, Dr. Harrison had said in the interview. It was who I was. Taking that away from me is like taking away my soul. But the worst tragedy was still to come. Madison found the police report about Maria Harrison's car accident. She had been driving home from her job at a nonprofit organization that helped homeless families find housing. A drunk driver had run a red light and hit her car at full speed. She died instantly. The accident happened just 6 months before Dr. Harrison was finally cleared of all charges in the malpractice case. Maria Harrison never got to see her husband's name cleared. She never got to see their family recover from the terrible accusations. Madison read that Dr. Harrison had fallen apart after his wife's death. He had already been struggling with the stress of the lawsuit and losing his career. Losing Maria was more than he could handle. The article said that Dr. Harrison had started drinking heavily and had become severely depressed. He stopped taking care of himself and stopped looking for work. Alex, who was only 14 when his mother died, had to take care of his father while dealing with his own grief. Madison found records showing that the Harrison family had lost their house because they could not pay the mortgage. All their money had gone to legal fees and medical bills from Maria's accident. Dr. Harrison's depression made it impossible for him to work, even after he was cleared of the malpractice charges. For almost 2 years, Alex and his father had lived in homeless shelters, cheap motels, and sometimes on the streets. Madison read reports from social workers who had tried to help them. Alex had refused to be separated from his father, even when people offered to place him in a foster home with better conditions. Alex is remarkably mature for his age, one social worker had written. Despite the difficult circumstances, he continues to attend school and maintain excellent grades. He takes care of his father with a level of responsibility and compassion that is extraordinary for a teenager. Madison learned that Alex had been working part-time jobs to help support himself and his father. He cleaned offices at night, delivered newspapers in the early morning, and did yard work on weekends. Despite working and taking care of his depressed father, Alex had never missed a day of school. The academic records Madison found showed that Alex had been an honor student even while living in shelters. His teachers described him as brilliant, dedicated, and kind to other students. Several teachers had offered to help him with college applications and scholarships. Madison found one teacher's note that made her cry. Alex Harrison is the most resilient and intelligent student I have ever taught. Despite facing challenges that would destroy most adults, he continues to excel academically and help other students with their studies. He never complains about his circumstances and never asks for special treatment. His determination to succeed and help others is truly inspiring. Recently, Dr. Harrison had finally started to recover from his depression. Madison found an article about him getting a job as a nurse at a community health clinic. It was not the same as being a surgeon, but it allowed him to help people again and support his son. The article included a quote from Dr. Harrison. "I lost everything. My career, my wife, my home. But I never lost my son. Alex kept me alive during the darkest time of my life. He is stronger and smarter than I ever was. Watching him succeed despite everything we have been through gives me hope for the future." Madison also learned that Alex had been accepted to several universities with full scholarships even before winning the academic competition. His grades and test scores were so high that schools were competing to have him as a student. One college admissions officer had written, "Alex Harrison represents the best of what education can achieve. Despite facing extraordinary hardships, he has maintained academic excellence while showing incredible maturity and compassion." Students like Alex remind us why we do this work. Madison sat in her expensive bedroom, surrounded by luxury that she had always taken for granted, and thought about Alex studying in homeless shelters and public libraries. While she had been shopping and making cruel videos, Alex had been working multiple jobs and taking care of his depressed father. While Madison had been worried about getting enough likes on social media, Alex had been fighting to survive and get an education. While Madison had been complaining about small problems, Alex had been dealing with the death of his mother and the destruction of his family. Madison realized that every assumption she had made about Alex had been completely wrong. He was not homeless because he was lazy or stupid. He was homeless because terrible things had happened to his family, things that were beyond anyone's control. Alex was not worthless or pathetic. He was remarkable. He had survived tragedies that would have destroyed most people, and he had done it while maintaining his dignity, his intelligence, and his kindness. Madison thought about her viral video again. She had filmed Alex at the lowest point of his day, when he was hungry and desperate. She had laughed at his pain and encouraged thousands of others to mock him. She had taken someone who was already suffering and made his life worse. But Alex had never said anything bad about her, even after she humiliated him in front of the world. He had just walked away and continued working toward his goals. He had let his success at the academic competition speak for itself. Madison realized that Alex was a better person than she was in every possible way. He was smarter, stronger, kinder, and more determined. He had achieved more while having nothing than she had achieved while having everything. For the first time in her life, Madison felt truly ashamed of herself. She had used her privilege to hurt someone who deserved admiration, not mockery. She had been cruel to someone who had shown more courage and strength than she could ever imagine having. Madison knew that learning Alex's story had changed her forever. She could never go back to believing that poor people were lesser than rich people. She could never again think that having money made her better than anyone else. But knowing the truth also made her realize how much damage she had done. Her video had not just hurt Alex, it had spread hatred and cruelty toward all homeless people. She had made the world a little bit meaner and more heartless. Madison had to find a way to make this right, but she had no idea how to even begin. Madison could not eat, could not sleep, and could not focus on anything. For 3 days after learning Alex's true story, she felt like she was carrying a heavy weight in her chest. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Alex's face from her video, the hurt in his eyes when she laughed at him. At school, Madison's friends noticed that something was wrong with her. She was not talking as much, not posting on social media, and not joining in when they made mean comments about other students. "Madison, what's wrong with you?" Emma asked during lunch. "You've been acting weird ever since that academic competition." Madison looked at her friends sitting around their usual table in the expensive cafeteria. They were all wearing designer clothes and talking about their weekend shopping plans. Just a week ago, Madison had felt like she belonged with them. Now they seemed shallow and cruel. "I'm just tired," Madison lied. "You're not still upset about losing to that homeless kid, are you?" Sophia asked with a laugh. "I mean, it was embarrassing, but everyone knows those competitions are meaningless anyway." Madison felt anger rise in her chest. "His name is Alex," she said quietly. Her friends looked surprised. Madison had never corrected them when they said mean things about people before. "Whatever," Ashley said. "The important thing is that your video about him is still getting views. I saw it shared again yesterday with like 1,000 new comments." Madison felt sick. She had been avoiding looking at her video for days, but knowing it was still spreading made her feel terrible. More and more people were seeing Alex at his most vulnerable moment and laughing at him. "Maybe we should make another video," Emma suggested. "We could go to that poor neighborhood and film more homeless people. It could be like a series." "No," Madison said quickly. The thought of making another cruel video made her feel nauseated. Her friends stared at her in confusion. "Why not? It was so funny and you got famous from it." Madison could not explain to them what she had learned about Alex. She could not tell them that the boy they thought was worthless was actually braver and smarter than all of them combined. They would not understand. That afternoon, Madison went home and locked herself in her room. She opened her laptop and looked at her viral video one more time. The view count had grown to over 200,000. The comment section was filled with hundreds of cruel jokes about Alex and homeless people in general. Madison read through the comments and felt worse with each one. People were calling Alex terrible names. Some were making jokes about how homeless people should be removed from the city. Others were sharing stories about times they had been mean to poor people, inspired by Madison's video. One comment made Madison start crying. "I saw a homeless kid at my school yesterday and I remembered this video. I threw my trash at him and told him to go back to the dumpster where he belongs." So funny. Madison realized that her video was not just hurting Alex anymore. It was inspiring other people to be cruel to homeless and poor people everywhere. She had started something terrible that was spreading and growing beyond her control. Madison found the settings for her video and deleted it from her social media account. But she knew it was too late. The video had already been shared and downloaded by thousands of people. It would continue to exist on the internet forever, continuing to hurt Alex and other homeless people. That night at dinner, Madison's parents talked about their upcoming vacation to Europe. They were planning to spend more money on 2 weeks of shopping and sightseeing than most families made in a year. Madison listened to them discuss expensive hotels and restaurants while thinking about Alex sleeping in shelters and looking for food. "Madison, you're very quiet tonight," her mother observed. "Are you still disappointed about not winning that competition?" Madison looked at her parents, her successful lawyer father and her mother who spent her days shopping and getting beauty treatments. They were good people in many ways, but they had taught her that being rich made her better than others. They had never taught her to care about people who had less. "Mom, Dad," Madison said slowly, "what do you think about homeless people?" Her parents looked surprised by the question. "Well," her father said, "it's unfortunate, but usually it's their own fault. People who work hard and make good choices don't end up on the streets. Most of them have problems with drugs or alcohol," her mother added. "That's why it's important to stay away from them and focus on people from good families like ours." Madison felt angry and sad hearing her parents say these things. A week ago, she would have agreed with them completely. Now she knew they were wrong. But what if someone becomes homeless because of things they can't control? Madison asked. Like if their parent gets sick, or they lose their job, or something terrible happens to their family? Her father shrugged. "I suppose that could happen, but it's rare. Most homeless people are there because they didn't work hard enough or made bad decisions." Madison wanted to tell them about Alex's family, about how Dr. Harrison had been a successful surgeon who helped people, about how Maria Harrison had died in an accident. She wanted to explain that Alex was homeless because of tragedy, not laziness. But she knew her parents would not understand. They had lived their whole lives believing that rich people were better than poor people. They would not want to hear that their beliefs were wrong. After dinner, Madison went to her room and looked at herself in her expensive mirror. She saw a pretty rich girl wearing clothes that cost more than some families spent on food in a month. But for the first time, she did not feel proud of what she saw. Madison thought about Alex, probably studying at the library right now, preparing for his university classes with the scholarship he had earned through pure intelligence and determination. While she had everything handed to her, Alex had to fight for every opportunity. Madison pulled out her phone and looked at her social media account. She had gained thousands of new followers because of her viral video. People were following her because they thought her cruelty was entertaining. They wanted to see more videos of her being mean to people who could not defend themselves. Madison thought about deleting her entire social media account, but she knew that would not fix anything. The damage was already done. Her video would continue to exist, and the people who had seen it would continue to think it was acceptable to mock homeless people. Madison also thought about the academic competition and how embarrassed she had felt when Alex beat her so completely. But now she realized her embarrassment was nothing compared to the humiliation Alex had felt when she filmed him looking for food. Alex had lost the competition with grace and dignity. Madison had lost the competition and learned that everything she believed about herself and the world was wrong. Madison lay in her comfortable bed, in her huge house surrounded by luxury, and felt more miserable than she had ever felt in her life. She had hurt someone who did not deserve it, and she had done it for the worst possible reasons, for entertainment and to feel superior. Madison knew she had to do something to make this right, but she did not know what. How do you apologize for humiliating someone in front of hundreds of thousands of people? How do you fix the damage you have caused to someone's life and dignity? Madison also knew that apologizing would mean admitting to her friends, her family, and her school that she had been completely wrong. It would mean giving up her image as someone who was better than others. It would mean facing the fact that she had been cruel and ignorant. But as Madison lay in the dark, thinking about Alex's strength and courage, she realized that being brave enough to admit she was wrong might be the first step toward becoming a better person. The question was whether she had the courage to take that step. Madison spent the entire weekend thinking about what she should do. She knew she needed to apologize to Alex, but the thought of facing him terrified her. How do you look someone in the eye after you have humiliated them in front of the world? On Monday morning, Madison made a decision. Instead of going to school, she asked her driver to take her to the public library. She knew from her research that Alex studied there every day after school. She would wait for him and finally do what she should have done weeks ago. Madison had never been inside a public library before. Riverside Academy had its own beautiful library with leather chairs and expensive computers. The public library was older and simpler, but Madison could see that it was clean and welcoming. There were people of all ages reading books and using computers. Madison found a table where she could see the entrance and waited. She felt nervous and scared, but also determined. She had spent 3 sleepless nights thinking about Alex's story, and she knew she could not live with herself if she did not at least try to make things right. At 3:30, Alex walked through the library doors. He was carrying his old backpack and wearing the same clean but worn clothes Madison had seen at the competition. He looked tired, like he had been working, but he walked straight to his usual table and pulled out his books. Madison watched Alex for a few minutes before gathering the courage to approach him. He was studying calculus, working through complex problems with the same focus she had seen during the academic competition. Even here, surrounded by distractions, Alex was completely dedicated to his education. Madison took a deep breath and walked over to Alex's table. When she got close, Alex looked up and recognized her immediately. His face showed surprise, then wariness. He did not look angry, but he was clearly wondering why the girl who had humiliated him was standing next to his table. "Alex," Madison said quietly, her voice shaking, "can I talk to you for a minute?" Alex looked around the library, then back at Madison. "What do you want?" he asked. His voice was calm but cautious. Madison sat down in the chair across from him without waiting for permission. She was afraid that if she waited too long, she would lose her courage and leave. "I want to apologize," Madison said, "for the video, for laughing at you, for everything. I was wrong and I'm sorry." Alex studied her face for a moment. "Why now?" he asked. "You seemed pretty happy about that video a few weeks ago." Madison felt tears starting in her eyes. "Because I learned who you really are. I found out about your family, about what happened to your mother, about your father being a doctor. I know why you were looking for food that day." Alex's expression softened slightly, but he still looked guarded. "So you feel sorry for me now?" "No," Madison said quickly. "I mean, yes, I feel terrible about what your family went through. But that's not why I'm apologizing. I'm apologizing because I was cruel to another human being, and that was wrong no matter who you are or what your story is." Alex closed his calculus book and gave Madison his full attention. "Do you know how many people saw that video?" he asked. Madison nodded, feeling ashamed. "Over 200,000 people, and I know it got shared and commented on by thousands more. Do you know how it felt to have strangers laugh at me when I was just trying to find something to eat?" Alex asked. His voice was still calm, but Madison could hear the pain underneath. Madison started crying. "I can't imagine how it felt. I've never been hungry. I've never had to look for food. I've never had people laugh at me when I was suffering. I'm so sorry, Alex. I'm so incredibly sorry." Alex handed Madison a tissue from his backpack. Even now, when she had hurt him so badly, he was being kind to her. "I deleted the video," Madison said through her tears. "But I know it's too late. It's still out there, and people are still sharing it. I can't take back what I did." "No, you can't," Alex agreed. "But you can choose what to do next." Madison wiped her eyes and looked at Alex. "What do you mean?" "You have a platform," Alex said. "You have followers, you have influence. You could use that to help people instead of hurting them." Madison had not thought about this possibility. She had been so focused on how terrible she felt that she had not considered how she might use her social media presence for good. "Would you forgive me if I did that?" Madison asked. Alex was quiet for a moment. "I forgave you already," he said finally. "Holding on to anger would just hurt me more." But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to move forward. Madison felt more tears coming. Alex's kindness and wisdom made her feel even worse about what she had done, but also gave her hope that she could become a better person. "How can I help?" Madison asked. "What should I do?" Alex thought for a moment. "Tell people the truth," he said. "Not just about me, but about homelessness in general. Most people who are homeless aren't there by choice. They're there because of circumstances beyond their control. Job loss, medical bills, family tragedy, mental illness. Help people understand that homeless people are human beings who deserve dignity and respect." Madison nodded. "I will. I promise I will." "And maybe," Alex continued, "you could volunteer at a homeless shelter. Actually meet some of the people your video made fun of. Learn their stories." Madison had never volunteered anywhere in her life. The idea scared her, but she knew Alex was right. If she really wanted to make amends, she needed to do more than just post on social media. "I'll do that too," Madison said. "Alex, is there anything else I can do? Any way I can help you specifically?" Alex smiled for the first time since she had sat down. "Actually, there is something. I'm starting college next month, and I'm nervous about it. I've never been around so many privileged students before. I could use a friend who understands both worlds." Madison felt surprised and touched that Alex would want to be her friend after what she had done. "I would be honored to be your friend," she said. "And Alex, you're going to do amazing in college. You're the smartest person I've ever met." Over the next few weeks, Madison kept her promises to Alex. She made a new video for her social media account, apologizing for her previous cruelty and telling Alex's story with his permission. She explained how her assumptions about homeless people had been wrong and encouraged her followers to donate to local shelters. Many of her old followers were angry about her new message. They called her weak and said she was betraying her own social class. Madison lost thousands of followers, but she gained new ones who respected her honesty and courage. Madison also started volunteering at the city's largest homeless shelter. She served meals, helped with laundry, and most importantly, listened to people's stories. She met families who had lost their homes due to medical bills, veterans who struggled with mental illness, and young people who had aged out of foster care with nowhere to go. Each person Madison met taught her something new about strength, resilience, and human dignity. She realized that she had been ignorant about so many things, not just homelessness, but poverty, mental illness, and the struggles that many people face every day. Madison's relationship with her parents and old friends became strained as she changed her values and priorities. But she also developed new friendships with people who shared her desire to help others and make the world more compassionate. Alex started college in the fall and excelled in his studies. Just as Madison had predicted, he and Madison stayed in touch, and she was proud to call him her friend. Alex's success reminded her that intelligence and worth had nothing to do with money or social status. Madison also changed her plans for college. Instead of studying business like her father wanted, she decided to study social work. She wanted to dedicate her life to helping people who were struggling, the way she should have helped Alex from the beginning. 1 year after the incident at the dumpster, Madison returned to that same spot behind the coffee shop. She was there with a group of volunteers from the shelter, handing out meals and information about services to anyone who needed help. As Madison gave a sandwich to a young man who reminded her of Alex, she thought about how much her life had changed. She was no longer the cruel, ignorant girl who had laughed at someone's pain. She was becoming someone who tried to ease that pain instead. Madison knew she could never completely undo the damage she had caused with her viral video, but she had learned that redemption was not about erasing the past. It was about choosing to do better in the future. Alex had taught her that true strength came not from tearing others down, but from lifting them up. Madison was determined to spend the rest of her life living by that lesson, helping others the way Alex had helped her become a better person. The mean girl who had once laughed at a homeless boy was gone forever. In her place was a young woman who understood that everyone deserves dignity, respect, and compassion, regardless of their circumstances. And that understanding would guide every choice Madison made for the rest of her life.